Hello there, art historians, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be breaking down the comparison question on the AP Art History exam for you. So on your AP exam, you're going to have your SAQs, which are your shorter answer questions that we've already worked on, but you're also going to have two longer essays, all right? So one of them being 35 minutes long, the other one being 30 minutes long. This one that we're going to talk about is definitely the longest of the two because it really asks you to look at all parts of these artworks, but that's okay. They give you 35 minutes to write it, but in all honesty, you may or may not need all of that time if you know how these questions are broken down and know how to look for what they are asking you. So the way that the comparison question is going to work is they are going to show you a picture of a work of art from the 250 that we have covered, all right? And they're going to tell you about it. They're going to refresh your memory. They'll say maybe it's, made of this material or it was from Imperial Rome or something like that. So it'll be a work of art that you should recognize. It's going to ask you to compare it in some way to another work of art. Now, it can be one that you choose from memory, or you can choose one of the options that they're going to give you. My advice would be to use one of the ones that they give you because it's a good way to assure yourself that you're picking a piece that can answer that question. Now, if you've got a piece that you're like, I can argue this back and forth, I know it fits, okay, go ahead. But if you want to play it safe, pick one of the three that they give you, all right? Now, this essay really starts from top to bottom, asking you to look at all the parts of the art we cover in this class. The form, the content, the function in the audience, and the context. All right, so we're going to step through this question and break down how it's going to ask you to answer it. All right, so the first thing that's going to happen is I said they're going to give you a work of art and they're going to identify it with an image. So for example, this is the image of Athena battling the giants from the Pergamon altar. All right, so they've told you what it is. You're like, okay, I remember learning about that. All right, it will also tell you how it is an example of a particular theme. All right, so in this case, we're looking at which shows a battle scene. All right, so right off the bat, you should be looking for, okay, it's not just telling me about what the work of art is, it's telling me what it fits into. So this is a battle scene, or if it's a religious scene, all right? Now, once you know that, all right, you move on to the next part of the question, all right, where it's going to say, okay, you're going to compare it to another work of art that shows a battle scene in this example, okay? Please be very cautious and maybe underline or even highlight, okay, this is the theme, right? So they're looking at battle scenes, they're looking for religious scenes, they're looking at narratives, okay? So then you move on to step one, where it starts giving you commands of what you need to do. Now, step one is the easiest part that people should get but miss, all right? The first thing it's going to ask you to do is to choose another work of art, either from your choosing or from the list below, and fully identify it, okay? This is such an easy point that people just forget to do. Fully identify means to tell at least two things about that work of art, okay? You can do the culture, you can do the time period, you can do the medium, what it's made of, you can do the artist if you know it. You only need two things. But my word of advice is say everything that you can about it, that you know, all right? Just basic information, who made it, where it was made, when it was made, what it's made of. If you don't know it, okay, fine. But this is non-punitive, all right? So that means if you get two things that are correct and you put two other things that are wrong, you still got two things that are right. That's all that matters, all right? So if you're in doubt, throw it out there, all right? See if it sticks, all right? It might. So how is this gonna look? All right, this is the wording that you're gonna see. It'll say select, which means choose, and completely identify another work of art that also depicts a battle or conflict. So that's what it's going to be looking for, is battle or conflict. Now also note here that it says from ancient Mediterranean forward, right? That means it's saying, okay, you can't do prehistoric. You can't go back before ancient Mediterranean. Watch for that. They may be very specific and say, okay, this one has to be from outside Europe. This one has to be from this time period forward, all right? Watch that to make sure that you're picking a work of art that fits. But again, if you choose one of the options they give you, you'll know for sure that you're doing that, okay? So when you respond to that, I've given you a way to do that, okay? Similar to the scene of Athena from the great altar of Zeus at Pergamon, the column of Trajan, all right, so that's the one that I chose, also depicts a battle scene. Notice that I'm reusing words from the prompt. It shows that you're answering the prompt, all right? Also depicts a battle scene. I pulled it directly from the prompt, all right? The column of Trajan was made in Imperial Rome, so that's my time period, made out of marble, that's the medium, to be placed in the Forum of Trajan. All right, so I could have also put commissioned by the Emperor Trajan, built by whoever, but I just focused on these two for this example. All right, next, all right, it's going to focus on the form of this. So we did form, what's it made of, when was it? Okay, so now we're going to be taking that form and moving forward a little bit into the content. Okay, so we did, here's what it's made of, here's what it looks like, here's where it's from. Now we're going to start moving into the content. Okay, so it says, describe the subject matter of the battle or conflict. Subject matter is your content, right? It is, what is the subject of this? What is it about? What am I seeing in this content, right? So I said, in the scene from the great altar of Athena, the battle being shown depicts the gods versus the giants or titans, which was a metaphor for the Pergamene king defeating the Gauls. Right? So I am like, that's what you're looking at, right? You're seeing Athena, she is defeating the giants. All right, so let's go bigger picture. All right, so we know what this whole work is about. All right, it is the titans being defeated by the Olympian gods. All right. Then I said the column of Trajan also, right? We're comparing, also depicts battle scenes, two of them, in which Trajan is shown defeating the Dacians using Roman technology, right? So I just described the content. I just described the subject matter, right? What this is about, okay? So the next step is where it starts asking you to compare and contrast, okay? So be very careful. Sometimes they may ask you for one similarity and one difference. Sometimes they may say you could do one or the other. Sometimes they may say two similarities or two differences. Just be sure you're looking at exactly what they're looking for. Now, this is where you're using specific visual evidence. I call the you can see here point, right? So this is the particular step where if you were standing in front of this work of art, you would support your argument that they are similar or different by pointing to something on the work. As you can see here, although don't say as you can see, leave the word out of it. Okay, leave the word you out of it, all right? So here, let's look at how this would look because it's about a battle or conflict. So they said two similarities and or differences. So similarity and a difference, two similarities, two differences, all right, so you can pick. So I did first two similarities. These two works are similar in that they are both carved using the relief technique, all right? That's not enough though, because that doesn't explain the battle scene, okay? This allows for the details and forms of the battle to be seen more clearly, okay? Then you could say, all right, so see here, this is high relief. You can really see how you can see Athena gripping the head of the giant, or you can see the details of the battle technologies and the different battle scenes that were taking place. Okay, so that's one similarity. They both used relief, right? Both works also were created using marble. I could point to that, okay? And they were placed in important political or religious locations to encourage viewing, all right? Now, I'm not actually thrilled with this answer, to be honest, right, in terms of how the imagery depicts the battle or conflict, right? I could have definitely done better with that, I think. I could have said they both show multiple enemies being defeated, I could have pointed to that. I could have said that they both show violence, all right? And I could have pointed to examples of that, all right? I could have done better here, but I do like my difference, all right? These two works are different in that while the scene from the Pergamon altar is mythological, showing Athena defeating a giant, the column of Trajan, and I'm sorry, it cut off at the bottom, the column of Trajan features an actual battle scene that took place, with Trajan appearing repeatedly throughout the scene and showing the Dacians in their helmets versus the Roman helmets. Like, I can point to that. Okay, so visual evidence to support my point. Now, the last part of it, so we've done, let's see, so far, we've considered the form, how it's made. We've considered the content that's similar. We've used specific evidence from the content to prove our similarity or differences. Now we're going to look at the function, right? What this was for, okay? So while the first part of the questions focus on form and content, the second part focuses on, or the last parts of these focus on, how are you going to use the function and the context, okay? So for example, right, this one, you need to make a claim, right? You have to claim something. You have to make an argument and support it with evidence, all right? So it says, explain one similarity in how, so that's function, the battles reinforce concepts of power or leadership. So how did this function to reinforce power or leadership, right? Then they want contextual evidence, right? They want, okay, why? What was going on behind the scenes to do this, okay? So here's the example. These two works are similar. This is my claim. They are two works are similar in that they both reinforce power and leadership. See, I'm using words from the prompt through their placement in public places to reinforce victory over a conquered peoples. So what I'm saying here is that these battle scenes were put in public places so that people would see the victory of their leaders over conquered peoples. Then I provided contextual evidence, right, of behind the scenes, all right? The giants, all right, and so this Pergamon altar was placed on an altar to Zeus, which was the king of the gods, all right? So context, all right? Zeus is the king of the gods. So if this is a metaphor for Zeus and Athena defeating the Titans, then it makes basically the Pergamene people on the same level as Zeus, all right? Similarly, right, the column of Trajan was placed in the middle of a public forum between two libraries and a marketplace Trajan had built for the people. The scenes on the column shows the power of the emperor who built these forums by conquering the Dacians, all right? So what I just did there is I used context, what was going on outside the work of art that impacted how they were created and the function of them, all right? If you guys follow these steps and understand what the question is asking for you, pull this up, pull this PowerPoint up whenever you are taking the exam or taking the test so you know exactly what it's looking for. Use this formula. Make sure when you're answering the question or you're looking at the question, you answer what it's looking for. You could write a beautiful essay on how the column of Trajan was built at the same level as the hill that they destroyed. But if it doesn't relate to the battle scenes that it's asking about, you're not going to get any points. Do not bullet point. Write in complete sentences using words from the prompt. Show the readers what part of the question you're answering. Fully identify, right? Tell as much as you can about it. If you get two things right and two things wrong, you're still going to get it right. And remember, when it asks for visual evidence, that is the as you can see points, all right? You should be able to point to it, show it, and demonstrate it. If you follow these steps, you're going to do just fine on the comparative question.